I never thought I would be the kind of person to cheat. Honestly, for a long time, I thought those things only happened to other people. I thought I was too practical, too grounded, too loyal, for lack of a better word. But life has this sneaky way of shifting you without even noticing. It starts small, almost innocent. And that's exactly how it began with Alex. Alex was one of my husband's coworkers. I met him first at one of those mandatory team events that my husband dragged me to. I remember thinking he was attractive, sure, but nothing serious. Just an interesting smile, the way he laughed at the dumb jokes people told, the way he seemed genuinely curious about what I did for a living. My husband noticed nothing. Or maybe he did, and he didn't care. I'll never know. It started with little things. He'd send me emails that weren't work-related, or we'd linger a little too long after a meeting, talking about movies, books, and life. At first, I told myself I was just being friendly. I mean, it's normal to connect with people outside your immediate circle, right? But soon, the tone of our conversations changed. The emails became flirty, subtle at first. Nothing too overt, just enough to make me smile when I saw his name in my inbox. One evening, my husband was on a late business call, and I found myself responding to one of Alex's emails more than I should have. It was lighthearted, teasing, and then it wasn't. He asked me to meet for coffee under the pretense of discussing a project idea. But we both knew it wasn't about the project. I justified it in my mind as harmless. After all, it was just coffee. Just 1 hour away from home, from responsibility, from everything. That coffee turned into lunch. Lunch turned into a few walks after work. I told myself I was lonely, that my husband and I had grown comfortable, maybe even stagnant. We weren't bad together, but the spark I felt with Alex was intoxicating. He listened. Really listened. Not just to my words, but to the pauses, the sighs, the things I left unsaid. With my husband, conversations were about schedules, bills, or trivial complaints. With Alex, it felt like being alive again. And then, one night, it happened. It wasn't some cinematic moment, not at all. Just a quiet apartment, the hum of the city outside, and the sudden realization that I could stop resisting. I told myself it was about passion, about rediscovering a part of myself that had been dormant. And so, I did it. The first time was chaotic, messy, filled with both guilt and exhilaration. I remember thinking that the thrill of secrecy made every small interaction with him feel monumental. After that, it became a routine. I started staying late at work because of deadlines or meetings, when really I was slipping away to meet him. Each time, the guilt hit me, but it didn't stop me. I rationalized it in every way I could think of. My husband deserved stability, yes, but I deserved to feel alive. I deserved someone who looked at me like I mattered, like I was exciting. And Alex, he made me feel seen. There were nights when I couldn't sleep, thinking about the lie I was living. I'd lie in bed next to my husband, tracing the lines of his face, wondering if I was the worst kind of person. And sometimes, tears would come, but I kept going back to Alex anyway. It was a complicated mix of thrill, guilt, and this desperate need for affirmation. I remember one night, my husband asked me if something was wrong. "You seem distant," he said. His tone wasn't angry, just concerned. And I lied. "I'm just tired, honey." "Headache," I murmured, hoping he'd let it go. But there was a subtle suspicion in his eyes even then. I brushed it off, but now I can see the cracks in his trust were already forming. Talking to Alex was addictive. We'd sneak messages during work, code words, emojis, anything to make our conversations private. I justified it constantly. He was my escape, my secret world, my chance to feel like more than just a wife in a predictable life. And every time we were together, I felt that rush, the forbidden thrill, the adrenaline, the sense of being chosen and desired outside the confines of my marriage. Looking back now, I realize how carefully I had constructed my double life. Every lie, every excuse, every fabricated meeting or late-night email was part of a careful choreography. And all the while, I kept telling myself that my love for my husband was separate, untainted, that this was just a phase, a mistake, a necessary indulgence. But deep down, I knew it wasn't just a phase. I was addicted to the feeling, addicted to being wanted, to the contrast between my life with my husband and my life with Alex. And I think that's when the real danger started, when I stopped feeling guilty before the act, and only afterward. When the thrill overshadowed the conscience. I never expected him to find out. Never. Not Alex, not my husband. I thought I could maintain the balance forever. But as any story like this goes, secrets have a way of slipping, of unraveling in ways you can't predict. And that brings me to the night when everything started to collapse. That night, I didn't expect things to blow up the way they did. In fact, I thought I had everything under control. For a while, I had been so careful, so meticulous. The perfect mix of just enough distance with my husband to avoid suspicion, and just enough closeness with Alex to keep the spark alive. But it only takes one small thing to start a chain reaction. It was a Friday, the kind of evening that should have been spent relaxing at home. But instead, I was slipping out to meet Alex after telling my husband I had to run some errands. He never questioned it. He had his own plans, work, video calls, and a few beers with friends. He didn't notice that I'd become more distant, more elusive. To him, everything was fine. I had become so good at pretending. But that night was different. I was running late. Alex had been texting me non-stop about how excited he was to see me, and I felt a rush of anticipation, just like the first time. But as I was leaving the house, I heard the front door open. My husband. I froze in the hallway, a rush of panic flooding me. It was a Saturday morning, and he had come home earlier than I expected. Of course, I hadn't planned for this. He was supposed to be at the office, but now, he was standing right there, looking at me with a strange expression. I hadn't seen him like that in a long time. Suspicious, guarded. "Where are you going?" he asked, his voice casual but with an underlying sharpness that sent a chill through me. "Just errands," I stammered, trying to act normal. But I knew I wasn't convincing. I could see the way his eyes lingered on me, like he was piecing something together. The way he was looking at me, I could almost feel the shift, like the ground was beginning to crack beneath my feet. "You've been running errands a lot lately," he said, his voice quieter now, more deliberate. "Every time you go out, you come back, different. More distant. Is everything okay?" I felt my stomach twist. I couldn't tell him the truth. I couldn't admit what I had been doing behind his back. So, I said the first thing that came to mind, hoping it would work. "I'm just tired, babe. Really, I just need some time to myself. I'm fine." But even as I said the words, I felt the guilt seep in. I knew he didn't buy it. And the thing is, I think he knew more than he was letting on. There was something in his eyes. Something that had shifted. The way he watched me, the way he asked that question. He was waiting for me to slip up. "I'll be back soon," I said quickly, making my escape before he could ask more. My heart was racing, and my hands were shaking. I could barely keep it together. As I got in the car and started driving to Alex's, my mind was whirling. I thought I was going crazy. Was I about to get caught? Was this the moment everything fell apart? I tried to calm myself down, telling myself it was nothing. He probably didn't know anything. He was just being paranoid. But something told me this wasn't over. When I arrived at Alex's apartment, I tried to shake off the nervous energy. Alex answered the door with that charming smile of his, the one that always made me feel like I was the only person in the world. He was already in a relaxed state, and I couldn't help but smile back at him. But even as I kissed him, a part of me still couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I didn't know it then, but that moment, the one where I tried to push all my worries aside, would come back to haunt me later. The next few hours felt like any other rendezvous, passionate, exciting, but increasingly hollow. I kept thinking about my husband, about his face when he asked me those questions. Was I really that obvious? When I finally got home that night, the house was quiet. My husband's car was in the driveway, but he wasn't in the living room. I found him in the bedroom, sitting on the bed, looking down at his phone. His face was tight, the kind of expression you get when you're trying to hold back anger or disappointment. "You're late," he said, not even looking up at me. "I'm sorry," I replied, trying to sound casual. "There was traffic." He didn't respond right away. He just kept scrolling through his phone, as though he was waiting for something. Then, without warning, he stood up and turned to face me. The silence between us felt heavy, like a storm was coming. My heart skipped a beat. "Who is he?" he asked, his voice low and calm. I froze. I couldn't breathe. My mind raced, trying to find a way out of this, but there was no escape. He wasn't yelling, he wasn't demanding answers. He was simply asking, as though he already knew. "What do you mean?" I asked, but my voice trembled. I could feel the sweat on my palms. "I know about you and Alex," he said quietly, holding up his phone. The screen was open to a message thread between me and Alex, one I didn't even know he had access to. I couldn't even react. All the excuses, all the justifications I had made to myself, none of them mattered anymore. The truth was out. He had known. The room felt like it was closing in on me, and I could barely breathe. My heart was pounding in my chest as I stood there, frozen, staring at my husband. The quietness in his eyes terrified me more than anything else. I had never seen him like this, so calm, so controlled, as though he were watching a stranger, not the woman he'd been married to for nearly 5 years. For a moment, neither of us said anything. I could hear the clock ticking in the background, the sound too loud, too heavy in the silence. Finally, he spoke again, his voice still so calm it almost felt like it wasn't even real. "You know, I've always trusted you," he said slowly, his words cutting through the air like a knife. "I never thought you could do something like this." I wanted to say something. I wanted to beg him to understand, to explain, to make him see that this wasn't about him, that this was just, well, just something I needed. But I couldn't find the words. I was paralyzed by the guilt, by the realization that everything I had been hiding from him was now out in the open. I didn't want to believe it. He continued, his eyes darkening as he looked at me. I thought I was being paranoid, that maybe I was just imagining things. But the signs were there, weren't they? The late nights, the excuses, the sudden tiredness. You'd pull away from me, you'd become distant, and I didn't know why. Now I know why. I couldn't look at him. I couldn't stand to see the hurt in his eyes, the betrayal that was now so evident in every word he spoke. The man I had married, the man who had trusted me with everything, was no longer looking at me like he used to. There was no love in his gaze, no compassion, just a cold, quiet disappointment. "Please," I finally managed to whisper. "Let me explain. It's not what you think." He raised his hand, cutting me off before I could say more. "No, I get it. You don't need to explain anything. I see it now. You wanted excitement, you wanted to feel special again. I'm just not enough for you anymore." I felt my stomach drop, my heart twisting. Was that how he saw it? Was that really all there was to it? "I'm sorry," I said quickly, my voice shaking. "I never meant to hurt you. You have to understand, I wasn't trying to replace you. It wasn't about you, it was about me." I stopped myself, realizing how selfish that sounded. How pathetic. How did I think I could make him understand by making it all about me? "But it is about me," he said bitterly, cutting through my thoughts. "You made a choice. You chose him. And you didn't even care about the consequences." His words stung, more than I expected. I had convinced myself that what I was doing wasn't hurting him, that it was something I could compartmentalize, something that wouldn't tear us apart. But now, looking at him, I knew just how wrong I had been. It was all so much worse than I ever imagined. "I thought we were happy," he continued, his voice trembling slightly now. "I thought you were happy. But you've been lying to me. For months. For months, you've been lying to my face." I wanted to apologize. I wanted to explain how I was so sorry, how I hated what I'd done. But I also couldn't deny that a part of me was still clinging to the justification I had built up in my mind. What had I really done? Had I been selfish? Yes. Had I hurt him? Absolutely. But had I done it because I was looking for something? No. It wasn't about him, it wasn't even really about Alex. It was about me. About feeling something again, feeling like I was alive. I didn't mean for it to get this far. I said softly, my voice barely a whisper now. "I never wanted to hurt you, I paused, trying to find the right words. "I just didn't know how to fix myself. I didn't know how to talk to you about it." He shook his head, a slight laugh escaping him. One that wasn't funny at all. "You couldn't talk to me about it, because you didn't want to. You didn't want to fix it, you wanted something else. And now we're here. Now I know what you've been doing while I've been trusting you." I felt tears prick at my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I had done enough crying behind his back, enough pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. I had already betrayed him, I wasn't going to make him feel sorry for me now. "I was so lonely," I whispered, the confession slipping out before I could stop it. "Not because of you, but because of me. I've been lonely for so long, and I didn't know how to tell you. And then Alex, I trailed off, feeling embarrassed, like the words were too raw, too vulnerable to say aloud. He looked at me then, really looked at me, his eyes searching my face as though he were trying to figure out if I was telling the truth. Or if I was just trying to save myself. I don't know what he saw in my eyes, but after a long pause, he let out a slow breath. "So that's it. You weren't happy, so you went to him." His voice was quieter now, not as angry, just tired. So tired. "I don't know who you are anymore. I don't know who I'm even talking to. I'm still me," I said, choking back the sob that threatened to break through. I'm still the same person. But I didn't know how to come to you. I didn't know how to ask for help, or how to fix this. I thought I could handle it on my own. But I couldn't. I was weak. I didn't know if he believed me. Honestly, I wasn't sure if I believed myself anymore. There was a long, painful silence between us. He finally sat down on the edge of the bed, running his hands through his hair, and I could see the weight of everything we had gone through in that moment. His shoulders were slumped, his entire body exhausted from the emotional weight of what had just been revealed. I don't know what to do with all of this, he said quietly, staring at the floor. I don't know how to fix it, and I'm not sure I even want to anymore. I didn't know what to say to that. His words hit me harder than anything else had. I don't know how to fix it, and I'm not sure I even want to anymore. Those words echoed in my head as I stood there, feeling like I was trapped in some kind of nightmare I couldn't wake up from. The man I had loved, the man I had promised to spend my life with, was sitting there, telling me that he didn't know if he even wanted to try anymore. I had never imagined this moment. When I started seeing Alex, when I made those first choices, I told myself it was just a temporary thing, a mistake, a phase I could get over. I never thought it would come to this. I never thought I would be standing in front of my husband, watching him break before my eyes, knowing that I was the one who had caused it. I don't want to lose you, I said finally, my voice barely a whisper. I stepped forward, but he didn't move. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. I never meant for you to find out this way. But I can't undo what I've done. I can't change it. He looked up at me then, his eyes dark with a kind of sorrow I had never seen before. You can't change it. No. But you can own it. You can tell me the truth about why you did it, not just the part you think I want to hear. Tell me why him? Why Alex? I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of his question settle in my chest. It wasn't just about Alex. It wasn't about some fling or excitement. It was about something deeper. Something I had buried so far inside myself that I didn't even recognize it until it was too late. I was lonely, I said, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. Not because of you, but because of me. I was lonely with myself. I thought I had everything I needed. My career, our house, our life together. But I didn't. I didn't feel seen. I didn't feel alive anymore. You were busy. I was busy. And the more time went on, the more I felt like I was just a part of the background. I started to think that if I just felt something again, maybe that would fix it. But it didn't. It only made everything worse. I paused, my chest tightening with each breath. And then Alex came along. And he saw me. He made me feel like I wasn't invisible. And I got caught up in that. I wanted to feel like I mattered again. Like I wasn't just your wife. I wanted to feel special. And I knew it was wrong. I knew it would hurt you. But I did it anyway. And I hate myself for it. His face softened, just a little, but the sadness didn't leave his eyes. You're telling me all of this now, but what do you want me to do with it? I don't know if I can forgive you. I don't know if I want to. You've betrayed me. You've been lying to my face for months. How do you think I'm supposed to look at you now? I felt tears spill down my cheeks, but I didn't wipe them away. I didn't deserve to. I know I've hurt you. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I am so sorry. I was weak, and I made terrible choices. I was looking for something outside of myself, outside of us, and I destroyed everything in the process. I don't expect you to forgive me right away, or maybe ever. But I need you to know that I love you. I love you more than I've ever loved anything in my life. And I've been so stupid. I've been selfish. But if there's any chance of fixing this, I'll do anything. I'll fight for us. I'll prove to you that I can be the woman you need, the woman you deserve. He didn't say anything for a long time. It felt like hours, though it was probably only minutes. Finally, he sighed deeply and stood up. He was still so composed, so calm, but I could see the strain in his posture, the way his shoulders slumped as if the weight of it all was finally too much to bear. I don't know, he said quietly. I don't know if I can get past this. I don't know if I even want to try anymore. But you're right about one thing, you've been selfish. And I've been selfish too, in my own way. I've been blind to what was going on, blind to what you needed. And maybe I should have paid more attention. But this is something I can't just forget. I nodded, trying to hold it together. I know. I don't expect you to. I wouldn't expect that from you. I don't think I could forgive me, either. He turned away, walking over to the window and looking out into the night. It was as though he was trying to see if there was any way out of this, any way forward. But I knew there wasn't. Not anyway. I need some time, he said, his voice tight. I don't know how long, but I need time to figure out if I can even trust you again. I swallowed the lump in my throat, feeling like I had just been punched in the stomach. I understand, I whispered. I'll give you all the time you need. But please, don't give up on us. Please don't give up on me. He didn't answer right away, but I saw him nod just slightly before turning back to face me. I can't promise anything, he said, his voice hoarse. But I'm not ready to give up yet. And that was it. The words hung in the air, heavy and uncertain. We both knew things had changed forever. We both knew the road ahead would be hard, filled with doubt and anger and pain. But for the first time in a long time, there was a small, flickering hope that maybe, just maybe, we could rebuild. As I sat there, waiting for whatever was to come, I realized something important. This wasn't just about Alex. This wasn't even about my husband, or the affair, or the lies. It was about me. About what I had lost inside myself, what I had been too afraid to face. And now, I was going to have to rebuild. I was going to have to find a way back. Not just to my marriage, but to myself. The journey ahead wasn't going to be easy. But it was the only one I had left.